Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome to Ice is Slippery, an unserious podcast about hockey brought to you by 1.5 hockey fans. My name is Kate, and I'm the hockey fan.
And my name is Fred, and I am half the hockey fan.
How are we doing this week, Fred?
We're good. We're good.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. Yeah.
Illness has ravaged the household.
Illness ravaged the household. We had some hockey going on, but not much.
There was a decent amount of hockey. It just, I don't know. It was just one of those weeks. Life kind of got in the way of hockey a little bit. And that happens, and that's okay.
It is okay.
I mean, I don't actually like that much. I just want it to be all hockey all the time. But I suppose I must engage with the world around me at certain points.
Yeah. And we were waiting mostly for the teams to get back from Finland, right?
That was a big part of it, yes. Dallas had another big gap between games as we waited for them to return from Finland. But we did try to fill our time with some of the other games and keeping up with stuff from around the NHL. One of those things actually was not from around the NHL, but just the hockey world in general. The PWHL season is going to start on November 30th. So we had the official jersey unveiling for the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that happened. I'm actually pretty happy about them in general.
You know, I think I am too.
Good. I'm sure that they were waiting on our approval.
Yeah, totally.
Fashion icons, Kate and Fred.
Yeah.
Kate, who wears pajamas 99% of the time, and Fred, who Kate buys all of his clothes.
Exactly. Yeah, I was underwhelmed with some of the logos, as evidenced by a previous podcast.
Yes, that is correct.
And I must say, I am less distraught over or not distraught. I guess I was never really distraught, but I like the way they look on an actual jersey.
Yes, I agree with that. I think a lot of the jersey or a lot of the logos that seemed maybe a little unimaginative or flat really came to life on the jerseys in a really cool way.
Yeah.
So it was just really nice to see all of it come together in action, which is fun. So I figured we could kind of go through and touch on those really quickly.
Absolutely.
Maybe starting with the least favorite, which was the Ottawa Charge.
Yeah.
Which
don't like the name, don't like the logo. It looks like a Flames jersey.
It looks like a knockoff, like overseas Flames jersey that you got, and you're like, this isn't quite right. I can't pinpoint why, but it's just not, it's off a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like from a logo generator site, and it's like version 8 of the Flames logo or something.
Yes, it's, even the color scheme is the same. The logo is so similar. It'd be one thing if this was a Calgary women's team, but it's not even the same city, so it does not make any sense.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I don't. That one's pretty much the only, I would say, really solid no for me.
Agreed. Yeah.
The next least favorite is going to be the Minnesota Frost.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
I like the name, but the logo remains, it's a Gatorade logo.
It looks like a Gatorade logo, and the way the F goes off to the left completely kind of uncenters it for me on the jersey in a way, and yeah.
Yeah, it's very skewed. Again, I feel like maybe just to avoid the copyright of a Gatorade logo issue, but it doesn't look balanced. And even the colors, it does look like it looks like Gatorade. I'm sorry, I went to University of Florida, so I'm clearly an expert in Gatorade.
Yeah.
Obviously. So that's also a no for me. There are some good things there. It could be salvageable, I guess, but it really should be back to the drawing board on that one.
Yeah, V2 will be better. Because the color's good, the name's good.
Yeah.
Logos, meh.
Exactly. The next one I put down, I think, is probably your next least favorite, but I don't hate it. It's the Victoire, the Montreal Victoire.
I wouldn't say that's my next most least favorite or whatever. It has a vibe. Once it's on the jersey, it feels right for the city. It feels right just in general. It came out better than I was expecting.
I will say I hated their color scheme last season, that burgundy and beige, whatever is going on. Could not handle it. Thought it was terrible to look at. I'm a jewel tone girl myself. But with the addition of sort of the navy blue accents and the logo and everything, it looks much better. It's still not a color scheme I would ever choose for myself, but it's a lot less appalling to me and looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it's reasonable. The shape of it and the font, I see what they're going for. It does have some kind of like World War I, World War II vibes to it for me, which I find very strange. Kind of like, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
I feel more like vintage, like deco vibes for me personally. There is an old-fashioned quality to it. I'm not taking it to like the military place per se, but I do agree that there's an old-fashioned quality to it for sure.
Yeah.
Which I tend to like. I'm a vintage gal. So, you know. Next, I put the New York Sirens.
That one ended up being my second favorite.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. I do not like the logo, but on the jersey and with the colors that they picked, is that the one where they have like the orange accents?
Yes.
The orange was a great call.
It is cool. It has like a very sort of 90s, like Charlotte Hornets basketball kind of jackets vibe, which was the thing when I was a kid, even though I lived in Florida. I don't know why that was a thing, but it was.
They had a vibe.
They totally did.
Yep.
So, no, it does have that sort of 90s feeling with this sort of turquoisey teal color and then this sort of like marigold pop of orange. Definitely a good color scheme. I think I will just always remain bitter that the sirens are referring to police sirens or ambulance sirens and not mythical
goal sirens. Goal sirens.
Not
no, those
even
are horns.
though.
Those are horns.
Yes, those are horns.
Okay.
No, they're supposed to be like sirens, like the sirens you hear in a city, and I want them to be mythical sea creature ladies.
Yeah.
So I think that's just for me the hang up. Like I get it, the logo is like reverberating like a siren does, but where's my badass mythical sea creature hockey team? I mean, we have the Kraken, but like, where's my lady one?
Right. Yeah. These lady Krakens.
The lady Krakens. I want the sirens. They're like the lady Krakens, but cooler and more deadly.
Yeah, I can agree. But on the jersey, I was surprised to like it so much. And it does feel kinetic. Like that, the echo thing works.
It does. I actually can't wait to see those in motion on the ice. I think it's going to look really cool.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of think that maybe the frost will look better in motion on the ice.
Maybe.
I guess we'll see.
Yep.
November 30th, it's coming up. Next, we've got the Boston Fleet. That one that's kind of almost like a sideways anchor looking thing.
Yeah, it looks like a bee.
It does. I really liked the wave motion that they put into the bee on the front.
Yeah, I think their name was my least favorite, and this jersey's my absolute favorite.
It's really cool.
Absolutely love it. I am now a Boston Fleet fan.
I love it. I think the color scheme's really good. Again, it's kind of closer to that Kraken color scheme where it's all sort of like different shades of like blue, green. It is very harbor color scheme. And then, just the little sort of wave.
Those waves, like one little thing. Transformed it.
It totally did. It kept it from just being this really sort of flat, basic logo and just really turned it into something really interesting. And it has movement and it's really cool. I like it just from a graphic design standpoint.
Absolutely.
And it feels like something you wouldn't see in the NHL. Like it's too fussy for the NHL.
It does have kind of like the old Whalers kind of vibe, doesn't it?
It does. I think people noticed that when it first came out for sure. Which again, people kind of liked because it was sort of a throwback to.
Yeah, everyone likes that old Whalers stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They love that.
Yeah, they're still wearing it to games and repping it.
Yeah. And then my favorite, I think, was the last one that I've got, which is the Toronto Scepters.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why I like it. It just looks kind of badass.
Yeah, that one ended up down on the bottom of my list.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, something about it looks very sort of serpentine. And I like the pop of the gold against the blue. It just has a very sort of classic sports jersey feel to me, but it also feels really sort of ornate. I mean, that's my style, though.
True,
I'm very over the top.
I can see this.
Podcasting is not a visual medium, but I'm wearing like 11 rings right now, and a nose ring, and I have a lot of tattoos, and I have colorful hair, and this room is filled with all of my rocks and gems and things. Like, I'm not a minimalist, so I'm going to gravitate towards the ones that are pretty.
I can see that being your vibe. Yeah, not for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think overall it's a pretty big win. Definitely, I think it's going to help my investment even more this year because I'm going to feel like I can really identify with the teams a lot better.
Yeah, we're probably going to have to get some merch.
I think we're going to have to.
Yeah.
Are we going to become a house divided again?
I don't know that I'm ever really that divided.
That's true. You're not really that competitive.
No, I don't.
And that's fine.
I don't really care.
We just pretty much like pretty things, and that's okay.
Yeah, but I would be game for a Sirens or a Fleet, something for me.
I probably, weirdly, would maybe be most down for a Victoire thing.
Interesting.
Even though I don't love the color scheme, I just love that logo so much. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Guess so.
I see myself getting a lot more winter hats this year, though. It's going to be very exciting for me.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. See, it's practical in fashion. All right. Well, moving on to the NHL. You can't spell Winnipeg without win.
There we go. You can't.
Winnipeg defeated the Stars last night, which we'll get into later.
Yep.
But they have become the first team in NHL history to win 14 out of their first 15 games.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty impressive stat.
Yeah, I think the Stars game is the first game I think I've really seen them play. We've clicked on them a few times and seen things, but oh boy, yeah, they're good.
They look very good.
They do.
They really do. We'll talk about that a little bit later
absolutely.
as we get into our Stars segment. But I may have mentioned this on an earlier podcast. I can't remember. But Paul Maurice said last year that he thinks Winnipeg should win the Cup this year. And he might have done a reverse curse or something.
Right.
He seems to have manifested something because they look great.
Yeah.
I think like that.
I think I said yesterday we should just give them the Cup now and call it a wrap.
You did say that, and I laughed, but it was to hide my pain. Some other big historic news. Alexander Ovechkin has been on the hunt to top Gretzky's goal record. Wayne Gretzky had 894 goals in his career. Ovechkin's been breathing down his neck for a while. He started this season with 853 goals. And after he scored 2 goals last night, he now has 863. He's already scored 10 goals this season.
Yeah.
You know, you really first started paying attention to hockey last season for the most part, like
Correct.
Closer attention. So that was really the first exposure you'd had to Ovechkin at all, and you didn't get it. Like
I was like assuming I'm aware of how good he was. And
Correct.
Last season I felt like he was basically eating a cheeseburger on the ice while he played.
Correct.
And I don't think people would necessarily disagree with that. He just seemed slow, and he's just going to stand down in his spot and wait for the puck. And if it didn't come, whatever. And defense was not something he was going to try.
I think that that's a pretty accurate assessment. It was very sort of grandpa's in his recliner, and if you send the puck his way, he'll smack it into the goal from there. But that's about it.
Right.
But he's been hungry for it this year. He came in better shape. I think maybe he replaced his rinkside Coca-Cola with Jolt or something. he's looking energetic.
Yeah, every time, and we've clicked over to the Capitals a lot more this year now that we're watching their YouTube funny content.
Yes.
And they're a delightful bunch of dudes.
They really are. And I hate that because now I'm kind of coming around on them.
Yeah. I actually wish them well. And Ovechkin looks like a good player this year. So that's fun for me, I guess.
Yeah. I also discovered last night that apparently every goal he's had this year has been assisted by Dylan Strome.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about the lines being important with the Capitals this year.
For sure. A lot of Alex Ovechkin's success he was partnered with Nicholas Backstrom, who I think is still technically on the Caps roster, but he's LTIR. LTI retired.
LTI retired?
Yes.
Yep.
But Dylan Strome came over, I think this is maybe his second or third season with the Caps. He's one, I've told you a little bit about him before, but he played in juniors with Connor McDavid. He went really high in his draft class, which I think was the year after Connor McDavid. He was drafted like the same year as Mitch Marner. He was really high in his draft class, probably third or fourth. And then he just really struggled and stagnated. He was in Arizona. He was with the AHL team for a long time. Then he ended up in Chicago for a while. Everybody just kind of thought he was a bust. But then in Washington, he's really stepped up and become amazing and has really played super great with Ovechkin. And I think has really helped Ovechkin get back into this race. So good for him.
No, he seemed to come in this year ready to go, like you were saying. The other guys on the team are also doing well. Like, it's not just him.
Exactly. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Well, last year in particular, it was pretty much everybody was injured all the time, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah. And then making it to the playoffs, everyone was confused by in the first place.
Including them. I think they had the lowest goal differential to ever make it into the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
It was preposterous. It was not a surprise that they were out after the first round.
Right.
Pretty sure they got swept in the first round. But good for them. You know, they're looking a lot more solid this year. I think good coaching is doing a world of difference as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's been pretty exciting. We had some other news this week. Vegas announced that Mark Stone is day-to-day with a lower body injury.
And everyone was shocked.
Everyone was shocked. Yes, breaking news.
Breaking news. It happened again.
It happened again. I mean, okay, obviously this is for real. Like the cap shenanigans won't happen until way later in the season. So it's just funny. It's a meme at this point. Mark Stone's injured and everybody has jokes about it. People call him, instead of Mark Stone, they call him Mark Glass or Mark Spleen.
Right.
Because he had that long-standing spleen injury last year. There was a lot of speculation about what this upper body injury was that took him out. Some of the things I saw were hysterical blindness, bone-itis, sympathetic pregnancy, gestational diabetes.
I'm guessing his wife is pregnant.
I have no idea. I think it's just funny.
Yep.
Count chocolitis. And then my personal favorite, the dancing plague.
Wow.
You know, my dad had the dancing plague once.
I was not aware.
He told me that, and I was like, really? But yeah, now it's St. Vitus dance. Look it up. It's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That happened.
So, anyway, I just think it's really funny. Do you know how old Mark Stone is, by the way?
He looks about 44 to 45.
He's 32 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks haggard. He looks like he works in the woods, like logging or like on an oil derrick.
He's rugged. He looks very rugged. Yeah. No, I'm always surprised to find out that he is significantly younger than I am. Somebody on Reddit described him as having old man face.
Yeah. No, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it shows, you know, he was a very physical player in his 20s, and he's definitely sort of paying the price for that right now. But I'm not going to lie, the jokes are really funny because Vegas absolutely has massaged that, you know, for cap space. They've definitely played that to their advantage. I'm not saying he's not injured and that he hasn't played injured, because he absolutely has. But Vegas has totally used it to their advantage. And so, yes, I will absolutely make fun of him whenever he so much as stubs his toe.
Absolutely.
And that's my right as an American.
Yeah. Yeah. Screw those guys.
Exactly. Some other funny things that happened this week. Quinn Hughes got into it with Brant Clark from the LA Kings on the ice, and then they both got sent to the penalty box, and they kept yapping at each other in there. I'm not the best lip reader in the world, but at one point, Quinn appeared to tell Brant, "You're fucking nothing."
Jeez.
So it's not as witty as "people pay to watch me play," like his brother Jack Hughes said, but it's refreshingly blunt.
It is.
And I enjoy that.
Wow.
So I don't know. I just find that really funny because, I don't know, usually Quinn Hughes looks so like sort of tragic and mopey. It was nice to see some energy out of him.
Right. You're right. Yeah, no, that's exciting. I enjoy him, and I like him being mad, and I like him trash talking people.
You just like it when the Hughes trash talk, I think.
I do. That Jack Hughes quote from last year is still my absolute favorite quote. It's
so funny.
Right?
It's so great.
Yeah.
And you like have taken it in the best way. You're like, no, people pay to watch me play. They don't pay to watch me in the box. Like, that's how you've interpreted it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you interpret it in the best way possible. I interpret it in the people pay to watch me play. They don't know who you are.
Oh, I also get that from it as well. Yeah.
But either way, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. He cracks me up. So
it's great. Anthony Stolarz from the Maple Leafs made a really awesome save the other night. He lost his blocker and a stick during a net front scrum, and he reached down barehanded and grabbed the puck off the ice and held it up in the air like some sort of prize.
Yeah.
And it proved once again that goalies are absolute lunatics. Like, who reaches down barehanded when there's all kinds of blades down on the ice?
Yeah.
Goalies, that's who.
That's something I never considered. And you're like, wow, that's dangerous with your bare hand down there. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that is a really, like, you don't want to be with your hand down there. You'll get messed up.
You slice a tendon and that's it. Your career's done.
Right.
Like, that's bonkers. But, you know, the adrenaline in the moment, you're just like, gotta get that puck, gotta not have that goal go in. I've seen goalies injure themselves, you know, on essential plays, and that very well could have been what that was. But luckily he was fine, and it turned out to be just a really cool highlight reel save. Probably the funniest part was when he held it out, and then a Detroit player kind of reached to take it out of his hand, like, "Oh, thanks, dude."
Yeah.
And then another Leafs player was like, swatting his hand away, like, "No, get out of here."
Yeah, I thought a fight was going to break out as a result of that transgression.
It didn't even seem like on purpose. He just seemed like he was like, "Oh, you giving me a present?" Like,
right. Yeah.
He was just like, "Oh." He seemed like he was going to go play fetch with it. Like,
right.
It was just very funny. And then watching Stolarz sort of reenact the, you know, grabbing of the puck to Joseph Wall, the other goaltender, and Wall just cracking up was great. It was a really good moment.
Agreed.
So, you know, I love a really good, impressive goalie save, but sometimes just a maniac one is fun too.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. And then speaking of goalies, last night we had a really touching, heartfelt reunion. So, in Boston for a few years, we had the great goalie tandem of Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark. They got really well known for their goalie hugs. They really were one of the rare sort of true goalie tandems, I would say, where they really shared the workload back and forth. It wasn't one primary and one backup. And sort of whoever played the game, whenever the game was over, whenever there was a win, they would go ahead and do a big, huge goalie hug.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
I didn't really know too much about it last year other than you telling me it was a true tandem, and getting to see them, reunite was kind of cool. I think it's fascinating that these teams play highlight reels of, people that have left the team before. We had that last week with
Stamkos.
Thank you.
No problem.
I don't know that guy very well. And then we had it again with in this game. And everyone was, standing and clapping. It was very cool.
And we had it with Fleury last week, too.
And Fleury, that's right. Yeah, at Pittsburgh. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, I don't know if you see that in other sports as much.
I don't think so. No,
Yeah.
I think I would imagine they get booed. But I don't know. I definitely not like a clip package, but maybe. I don't know.
I think in hockey, you do sometimes get booed depending on the circumstances and whatnot.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you were with somebody for a long time and you left under relatively good terms, of course, they're going to give you a shout out and honor you. And I thought it was really great. They did the goalie hug before the game. So they met up sort of at the center ice, gave each other a little hug, little stick taps, and then posed for a picture together with their arms around each other. And that was nice. And then they got to sort of get back in game mode. And Ullmark won that one for the Senators in large part because the Bruins did not register a single shot on net during the third period.
Yeah, that was a rough game.
Yeah, can't pin that one on Swayman.
No, I don't think you should pin that one on Swayman. He probably had some goals that he could have saved, but it doesn't really matter when your team is not doing the offense.
Yeah, you have to have an attempt at offense. And This is coming from a Dallas Stars fan, so I know what I'm talking about.
I was impressed watching the game because it made me feel like the Flyers were a better team than the Bruins.
Yeah.
They looked like absolute clowns out there and could not get a shot off. And it was just embarrassing with the level of talent on that team to not get a shot, not even one.
Not a single shot.
Not even a bad shot.
They kept having like a little clock timer pop up, and it was like 16 minutes since the last Bruin shot on goal.
Yeah.
It was really embarrassing.
I don't know who you blame for that. If like that,
Everybody.
I feel like that's a everybody blame, right?
Got to be an everybody blame. Except Swayman.
Yeah, we can leave him out of it.
Swayman cannot get the blame for that one, probably.
Do you think it's just karma from the trade nonsense?
I don't think so. No.
They just played poorly.
They just played poorly.
And they have been.
They have been. It's not been a great season for them.
Yeah, so GM's got to go, coach got to go, coaching staff's got to go, and all the players got to go.
Everybody's got to go. Fire sale.
Fire them all.
Clearing them out.
Clear them out. They're in a rebuild now.
70% off. Well, you mentioned the Flyers, so I think we might as well transition into talking about our teams.
Sure.
Usually I talk about the Stars first and then the Flyers, but I feel like this week it's kind of makes sense to talk about them together because they had sort of similar trajectories this week, and there's some comparisons we can talk about.
All right. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So to start with, Tuesday, November 5th, we had a Flyers game because we didn't have any Stars games for a while because of Finland. So the Flyers played the Hurricanes. It was a road game. That one, Travis Konechny got on the board first, which seemed really promising. But then the Hurricanes got the next 3 goals, which was less promising. Owen Tippett scored, which was good and narrowed the gap. So when the second period ended, the score was 3-2. So overall, not the worst.
Right.
And then a little over a minute into the third, the Flyers tied it up with a super lucky goal from Sanheim, which he took the shot and it bounced off Frost's skate right into the goal.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that was cool. But then the Canes immediately got one back. Then halfway through the third, the Flyers tied it up again at 4-4. But then with 30 seconds to go, the Canes scored again. The Flyers pulled Kolosov at that point, but the Canes got an empty net goal. And so the game ended at 6-4. It was not the Flyers' best game, but they really showed some good offense, which was nice. And there was a lot of back and forth. They weren't dominated the entire time. So
yeah, it was a hard played game.
It was.
And they didn't give up, and they were able to tilt the ice at times. Obviously, they had some points. Some of those were not the best looking.
Some of them are sheer luck.
Sheer luck, just like brute force, like there, we got a goal. And that's kind of what I think Torts is looking for, is that hunger.
Yeah,
and
they had grit and they had heart. And
they did. And they played together a lot more. There were definitely times where there was just dudes up the ice with no support at all.
They still were definitely lacking in a lot of areas, but you did start to see sort of signs of hope, which was nice.
Exactly. I didn't feel bad about that game. Well, I don't feel bad about any games, but I wasn't disappointed in how they played.
You weren't distraught.
I wasn't distraught.
Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. So Thursday, November 7th, both the Stars and the Flyers played, not each other. The Stars played Chicago at a home game. From the beginning, the Stars broadcasters were talking like it was a foregone conclusion that we would beat Chicago, which made me feel very uneasy.
It's never a good... Like Jason Robertson said last year, like, I think any NHL team can beat any other NHL team at any time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's true.
It's very true. I don't enjoy tempting fate like that. It doesn't make me feel good. They keep talking about, oh, we've beat Chicago like the last 10 times we've played them at home or something. I don't want to hear that. I don't care. That's just tempting fate. I don't like it. I don't think I'm a superstitious person. You would disagree, but no, that's not cool. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, Sam Steele and his mustache opened the scoring in the first period. And then in the second period, Tyler Seguin extended the lead. Halfway through the third period, Tyler Bertuzzi tipped one in and cut the lead in half. But we ended up holding fast, and Stankoven had a really sick empty net goal on a backhand, and we won the game 3-1. There were some really spectacular moments throughout the game. Otter had a couple of fantastic saves. At one point, Dard was almost on a breakaway, but Esa Lindell, who I think is the most underrated defenseman on the Stars,
Yep.
kept up with him and had like a textbook stick lift right as he was about to approach the goal. So that was great. It was a really exciting game, and that's not really a good thing.
Yeah, you don't want... Yeah, Stars at their best are not exciting.
Well, the Stars are a lot better than Chicago, on paper at least. So there's no reason it should have felt like such a nail biter. The Stars just felt really sloppy, but they did at least have some energy and some kind of spark, especially near the end. So I was hoping that that was a positive sign, that maybe they were kind of shaking off the last of the Finland jet lag, and maybe they were just kind of getting their feet back under them.
Yeah. I don't have any big thoughts about that game. Chicago definitely was not the better team, so it should have been less of a nail biter, in my opinion.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that. It was kind of fun to watch in the sense that, you know, blowouts aren't always fun or exciting to watch, but at the same time, like, really, guys?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, all right. Well, if you insist, I guess. So that same night, the Flyers played the Lightning, also on the road.
Yep.
We didn't really get to watch that one because it happened at the same time as the Stars. I'm sorry, but the Stars take a little precedence.
Right.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah. You're on alert, guys. Things kind of always seem to get exciting when the Flyers play the Lightning. So last year, the two teams played in February in Philly, and there was a power outage.
Oh, that was Tampa. Yeah, that was
Tampa.
That was quite the event.
Then they faced off again in March in Tampa, and I don't suppose you remember what happened that game.
Nope.
So there were some egregiously bad calls, which contributed to the Flyers going down 4-0 before the first period was halfway over. John Tortorella took some exception to that.
Oh, yes.
Expressed his displeasure to the referees and got ejected from the game and then refused to leave.
I remember that. That was great.
You were already kind of on the Tortorella train, and I feel like that really cemented our love for him.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, I'm not fucking going.
Absolutely.
I'm not fucking going. You come over here and tell me to go. I'm not going to go.
Yep.
Like, you go. No, I'm going to stay right here. Like, he was not going.
He was not having it.
And it got to the point where, like, Travis Konechny had to be the diplomat trying to smooth things over. He's over the ref going, he's not going. I don't know what to tell you. You should go over and talk to him. He's not fucking going. He told me he's not fucking going. Like, look at him. He's not fucking going.
Yep.
So when Travis Konechny is your diplomat, that's an issue.
That is, yeah. That was a fun time, and he ended up getting suspended for that.
Suspended for 2 games and fined $50,000. 50.
Oh, it's not one of those $5,000 nonsense fines?
No, it was a big boy fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was in the hot seat. over that one.
Yeah, I loved that.
I loved that. I loved everything about it because it was really some garbage calls.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong.
He was not wrong.
And so that was in Tampa?
That was in Tampa.
Where he used to coach.
Okay. And that was like a reunion night for like the Stanley Cup winning team that he had coached, I believe.
Interesting.
So they kept like cutting to the box and all these like Stanley Cup winning players, you know, retired players who had reunited, who were there to watch the game, like laughing their asses off that Torts was getting ejected. So really a total classic. One of the highlights of last season, right up there with, you know, the Kachuk Bowl and everyone on the ice getting a 10-minute misconduct among other penalties. So classic moment. Great. It was their first time facing off since that day.
Okay.
And the Flyers were in Tampa. So already kind of like, ooh, the vibes.
Right.
The vibes are iffy. And then Torts decided to healthy scratch Michkov.
Yeah.
Which set the internet ablaze.
Ripples were felt.
Ripples were felt. The people on the YouTube, I believe, are not happy.
I think the people everywhere are just...
No, people on Reddit weren't happy either.
Yeah, I think if you don't like Torts and you question his ability to coach and his coaching style...
That was just nail in the coffin.
That's like when he did Coots last year, benched him, right?
Yes.
People are like, you can't bench the captain. And Torts can.
He can. And also they're like, now you can't bench the phenom rookie. And guess what? He can.
Yeah, he does.
And he's gonna.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's okay.
I'm good with it. I understand people's concern, but also they're not the coach of a hockey team.
Right, exactly. Backseat coaching really only gets you so far.
Yeah.
He's been doing it as long as he has for a reason. I do understand that he has been hot-headed in the past, including the not so distant past, like when he got ejected like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But I do think he has his reasons. You know, Michkov has never played an 82-game season before. The seasons in, you know, KHL are way shorter than NHL seasons. So I think it's really just a good opportunity to let him rest, let him see the game from sort of a bird's eye perspective. I get where he's coming from. Yeah.
Torts has said it's part of the process and that players can learn from watching games too. They don't have to always play.
Yeah, I don't think it's punitive because like when Coots would get benched or other times when other players have gotten benched, they've been benched. Like they've been there dressed and sitting on the bench a lot of the time.
Right. This is a scratch.
This is a scratch. This is a healthy scratch. This is Michkov's in a suit up in the box watching from up above. So it's a very different situation. This is a learning experience. It's not punitive. And Torts never said it was. People just read into it that it was.
Yeah. It does seem maybe like he's done a couple things that have really rubbed Torts the wrong way. I don't know what those things are.
I mean, the repeated attempts at a Michigan are maybe not...
That's probably not helping his cause.
Ingratiating himself. And he has been weak on 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Great on the power play, not so good on the 5-on-5.
Yep.
But again, you know, these are things they're working on. This is all just part of it. I did read an interesting theory that maybe him getting benched was not so much a message to him as it was also a message to the rest of the team that they can't be depending on this rookie phenom to carry them. Because a lot of, especially the younger core like Tippett and people have not been scoring and they need to step it up and they can't be relying on him. Yeah. So that's also an interesting perspective I hadn't considered.
Yeah. And I think Torts, at the end of the day, if you're not performing, you're possibly not playing.
Yeah, he doesn't care who you are.
And
he doesn't care if your parents are there.
He does not care if your parents are there.
Nope.
He can't take that into account every game.
He doesn't know who your parents are or if you even have parents. You might have been hatched out of an egg. He does not know.
He does not know. And
he does not care.
And that's why Andre's been getting playtime. Torts has said he deserves the time he's getting.
Exactly. He's earned it. So yeah. That's all there is to it.
I don't know.
So, well, that's another controversy. Then we had yet another controversy happen. So we were already down a goaltender. Sam Urson got injured in that Bruins game last week. And then Kolosov had been brought up to do some starts because Fedotov had been really underperforming.
Right.
So Kolosov was scheduled to start against the Lightning. Well, in morning skate, Kolosov got injured.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Fedotov had to start because we didn't have any other goalies.
Right.
So we had Fedotov, and then we had to activate an E-Bug, which is the emergency backup goaltender.
Right.
So Which actually, when I told you about that, you thought they were just putting in the e-bug straight up and not even giving Fedotov the chance.
That was my assumption.
Yeah. Honestly, with Torts, who knows? Like,
Right.
Could have totally been that. But no, they did give Fedotov the shot. So
yeah, and he looked good.
He really did, actually. I think, again, it shows how sitting somebody can really help them. His 5-hole has been an issue.
Right.
So that sounds so weird to say, but it's not
the best.
It's not the best phrase.
Not the best phrase.
He's a tall man.
Right. So he has long legs.
He has long legs and a big 5-hole.
Oh, God.
This isn't,
Anyway, he played well.
You know what I mean. Anyway, he played well. So the game itself, I think we were all kind of thinking bad things. The vibes are not good.
Oh, no, vibes are way bad.
The vibes are rancid. However, they played pretty well. Fedotov only let in 1 goal, which was a wraparound from Kucherov near the end of the first. And then both goalies really held it down until the third period. And then Tippett tied it up with 4 minutes left to go.
Right.
So regulation ended at 1-1. Overtime, both goalies held really strong again. And this is Fedotov against Vasilevsky, who he has his uneven moments, but overall is a really solid goaltender.
He's considered one of the greats, right?
He's considered really good. Yeah. Maybe not like an all-timer great.
Not all-time.
Certainly one of
the greats right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Reliable.
Yeah.
Competent
for sure. When he tanks, but most of the time he's pretty consistent. So they made it through overtime. So we went into a shootout. Travis Konechny scored 1 on the shootout. Fedotov made 2 saves. So the Flyers just needed 1 more goal. And then Tippett scored his first ever shootout goal and they won the game.
Yeah, it was a great shot.
It was a great shot.
Yeah, it was just authoritative. Just bang. There you go. Game over.
So good. And TK's was really good too. I mean, they both... TK's Vasilevsky just looked at the heavens afterwards. He was like, what the fuck? He was not happy about that one.
Yeah.
So for, a team that's been really struggling on offense to win really authoritatively in the shootout, and a team that's been really struggling with goaltending, actually,
right,
to win authoritatively in the shootout, based off the strength of shootout goals and shootout defending. So good. The hockey scriptwriters, beautiful. Great job, guys.
Yeah. That couldn't have been a good vibe in the locker room for Tampa after that.
Oh, probably not.
That would be a game where they'd be like, yeah, well, we're going to go beat them right now and then worry about the next game. And that did not happen.
It certainly did not. So, yeah, Thursday ended up being kind of a good day. Both our teams won.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
So then Saturday happened last night. The Stars and Flyers were both facing off against very good teams on the road. The Stars were playing the Winnipeg Jets and the Flyers were playing the Florida Panthers. One of the teams got completely dominated and outclassed, and it was frankly hard to watch. And it was not the team that you might think it was.
Was it the Stars?
Let's get this over with.
Yeah, it was definitely the Stars.
Yeah. So was there anything good about the Stars game yesterday? Number 1, Jamie Benn got a pretty sweet fight.
Okay. Your top thing is a fight and not a goal or the play.
He got some good punches in.
He did.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Rope Hintz managed to score a goal. So we lost 4-1 instead of 4-0.
That's true.
And we managed to ruin Connor Hellebuck's shutout streak. He was working on his 3rd shutout. So, we didn't really get anything out of that except for spoiling the party, which... I guess I'll take it.
Yeah. If you're leaving with your head down, just break something on the way out, I guess.
Exactly. Like a hockey stick.
Right.
Or a shutout.
Yeah.
One of those. Some other notes from the game. I won't call them highlights. They're just notes. There were some really soft penalties in the first, including one on Tyler Seguin for interference. He was literally just standing still.
He was just standing there.
He was just standing there. But it still really doesn't account for us playing the way that we did. No. Or not playing the way that we did.
That one was just goofy because you're like, there was literally nothing going on.
I popped on over to the Our Hockey game thread, so not just the Dallas game thread, and even Winnipeg fans were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was, everyone thought it was one of the worst calls they'd ever seen.
He was holding his hands up, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, the guy just sort of bumped into him, and he was literally just standing there.
Just standing there.
Completely bizarre.
Oh, well.
It wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
No.
I was pretty crushed because I had Mason Marchment in my fantasy lineup, and then I had not put him in because he was day to day, and then he was playing. And I was like, oh, I should have switched him in at the last minute. But then he caught a puck to the face. And
oh, boy, did he.
Chunk of the game.
Boy, did he.
They did bring him back out, and oh, my beautiful mush.
Oh, man. His face fucked up.
It's not good. And It was friendly fire, too. It was Wyatt Johnston, I think, fired the puck that hit him.
Yeah, it got like redirected into his face.
Yeah. Oh, there was blood on the ice. He just went right off the ice. It was not a good look.
Not a good look.
No, it was.
That one's going to show up for a couple more games for sure.
Oh, yeah. No.
Right. They had to stitch it shut.
Yeah. He was gone for like the rest of the first period.
Oh, don't like that.
It was really, really, really bad.
I'd be wearing a full face mask if I was in the NHL and everyone would be making fun of me.
Yeah. The Jets overall just looked better. They were faster. They were stronger. They were more cohesive. Their power play is really pretty.
Yeah.
There's not really much else I can say.
No.
I think if everyone on the Stars played with maybe like half of the energy and drive of Logan Stankoven, we'd be unstoppable. But that's not happening.
Feels like Logan's on the wrong team at the moment.
Yeah, he can't do it all himself, guys. He's very small.
Yeah.
He's trying his best. He's only small.
Yeah. That was a textbook. I don't know if it was textbook, but if I wanted to see how a hockey team should play, I would watch that and I would not focus on the Stars.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No.
You know, I've been saying, just hang in there, guys. It's going to be okay. Like, our record's still pretty good. They're still settling in. It's the first part of the season. They're overseas. I can't defend it anymore.
Yeah, no, you're
not okay.
The concern is starting to sweep over you.
It has swept. I have been swept with the concern.
You've said things that I have not heard you say before about your team, starting as of yesterday.
It's not been good. It's been a while since I've felt this not good about the team. It does not look like people care. It does not seem like people want to be there. I feel like I don't notice anybody who I'm supposed to be noticing.
Right.
There are a few people who are trying and doing really, really well. I think the chemistry is not there.
Yeah. If I'm thinking of who I'm noticing during the games, it's Stankoven, Duchesne, Blackwell, and then that other new guy. A defense guy. Begins with an L.
Lyubushkin.
Yeah, him.
Yeah. You can just call him Boosh.
Boosh. Well, then I'll be confused with Boosh.
That's true.
So let's
the other
not.
Boosh.
Yeah.
Well,
but those are the names I'm noticing.
Those are the ones who are doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Sagan's doing really well.
Sagan.
And Marchment.
Yeah, they're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Wyatt, I know he's trying, but he's invisible.
He's invisible. He's not doing.
Jamie Benn shows up sometimes.
Sometimes.
Rope hints. Who's that?
Yeah, haven't heard of him.
Jason Robertson, not familiar.
Yeah, I guess he's doing okay points and scoring wise.
I don't think so.
Is he not?
I don't think so.
Well, you know my feelings about him.
I mean, he's always been kind of one of those ones where he hasn't really stood out to us, but he has the points and the stats. So we're like, okay, he's just a quiet player and that's fine. But he's just as like vanished. Yeah.
We flipped over to the Leafs at one point sometime this week and his brother looked like a great player. I was like, that's the Robertson I'm rooting for.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which I think was weird.
Yeah, no, that's very weird. That's
to notice that
guy's not very good.
To notice that Robertson over the other Robertson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miro's been really struggling, although I can't necessarily blame him because he's been paired with Dumba will have a moment of like spectacularness. Like he had an amazing hit yesterday. And then he, had like 2 turnovers right in front of the goal that led to goals again.
Yeah, those were not good looks.
Mm-mm.
Definitely don't pass it to the other team in front of your goal.
Yeah.
That's a bad move.
I was willing to give Jim Nelson slack on the Dumba thing, thinking maybe he just saw something we didn't. I'm calling the Dumba experiment a fiasco at this point.
It's
not good.
It's not working out great.
It's not good. And I think we have him for 2 years.
I see what the intention is.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
No.
I'd rather have Suter back. I would rather have Ryan Suter back.
I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't know either. I'm having an existential crisis.
Yeah, Suter looks good on whatever team he's playing on.
Yeah, he's on the Blues. He's already scored like 2 goals this year, I think. He looks great.
Yeah, he does.
I miss Radek Faksa.
Yeah.
I think Maverick Bourque is just they haven't found the right spot for him right now.
Right.
I don't know what's happening with the lines. I also am really starting to think that maybe a big part of the problem is the coaching.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the backseat coacher, but I've been thinking this for a while, and I think I've alluded to it on the podcast, but Pete DeBoer has this thing. It's like, we don't want the energy to be too high and we don't want it to be too low. And like all the players have been saying that since last year,
Right.
Oh, we don't get too high, we don't get too low. Like we stay in this playoff mentality. They're not in a playoff mentality right now. They didn't look like they were in the playoff mentality in the playoffs, to be honest.
Right.
If you don't have highs and lows, you don't have like emotion, you don't have passion, you don't have drive. Like look at the Panthers. The Panthers fucking care.
They do.
Like they care. Like they want to be there. They want to fight. Like they care about each other and they care about the wins. And like, yeah, sometimes they get sloppy and make, bad penalties or whatever, but like they're invested and we just don't feel invested except for like Logan Stankoven.
Yeah. Yeah. Logan's got the energy.
Yeah. And like Lyabushkin.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know the first thing about coaching, but I know I have been underwhelmed, I guess, with Pete.
Yeah.
And the philosophy he has. I do think he's a good coach. We saw some of his like coaching during like the morning skates in Finland, right?
Yeah.
And he's very hands-on and he seems to know what he's like. I enjoyed watching that little clip of him. I was like, oh, look at this guy. He's out there. He's doing the thing. He seems knowledgeable, but I've never had great vibes around him.
He's just like a mellow guy, and that's fine and that's cool. Like, I like the fact that he's not toxic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, remember last year when the Panthers were kind of going off the rails in that one game, and then Paul Maurice just swore at them a whole bunch?
He did.
And then they asked about it in the press conference, and he was like, I just thought they needed a little swearing in their lives, and I'm good at that. I think the Dallas Stars just need some swearing in their lives right now.
Yeah. They need something for sure. Yeah. Peter DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer. That's
Peter DeBoer. Yeah, I don't know. I like him as a person, but I don't maybe like him as a coach.
I kind of think that's where I'm at with it. It's something's not working, and on paper, everyone's great, and we have so much depth. I still don't think we necessarily need a quote unquote star player, but God, we just need something. It is. It's just getting desperate.
It's starting to look a little dire.
It's starting to look a little dire. I'm not ready to be like, well, we won't even make the playoffs. Like, I'm not that dramatic, but
yeah,
it's definitely not looking good. And things are not clicking. And also, he won't ever let go of his power play coach. And our power play is back to sucking. So if he's not going to let go of his power play coach, and the only way his power play coach goes is if he goes, then he's got to go. I'm sorry. I will be ruthless. I don't care.
Yeah.
I have no decision-making power, so I can just be ruthless from the comfort of my own home in my pajama pants.
Well, we'll see how it plays out.
Exactly.
It's still early.
I mean, yeah, it's still pretty early.
Yeah,
but it's like it's getting less early.
It is getting
like
less
it's still
early.
Technically early, but it's not even mid yet. But it's like it's less early than it was for sure.
Weeks ago, Torts was saying it's early, whatever, but now he's not saying that anymore.
Right.
He's like, no, we have to go.
Yeah, it's time to get going.
So it is that time of the season to get in line and not suck.
And if anything, the Stars are losing speed and not gaining it.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's awful. I don't like it. So the Flyers also lost yesterday, but
it was a great game.
It was a great game. It was so fun to watch.
So fun.
They looked like a great team.
They did.
They played the Panthers, who are also a fantastic team. One of my favorite teams to watch. The defending Stanley Cup champions, I might add.
Right.
And they haven't lost a step, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
The Stars played the Panthers twice in Finland, and the Stars were clearly outclassed by them.
Yeah.
Both times. The Flyers really kept up with them. Like
they did.
The Flyers visibly were not as good of a team as they were, but they hung in there and they like fought for it and they really like played up.
Yeah, that's the style of play that they need to do and that they are equipped to do, and they were doing it. It was great. It was not a like laid back, like, oh, this is fine game. Like, that was a stressful game. It was back and forth. It was up and down. There were good things. There were bad things on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really exciting. It was engaging. it also really cemented for me that I'm a Flyers fan because I have really grown to love the Panthers and I'm very charmed by them. But I didn't even think about them yesterday. I was just fully pulling for the Flyers 100% of the time.
You might have thought about Bobrovsky a little bit.
I did, but you can't not think about Bobrovsky. He is just...
What a beast.
He's so good.
He's so good.
He's so stellar.
And his helmet was eye-catching, too. It was hard to, not look at him. Yeah,
no.
The purple, hockey fights cancer helmet, I'm guessing.
Probably. Yeah, no, he is just fantastic. Well, Urson was back after a week off. And you might think he'd be kicking a little rust off. He looked phenomenal.
Great. Yeah.
He was up there, save for save with Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky had some that were really just kind of his improbable athletic ones that he does where you're like, how does the body do that? But Urson had some really sassy glove saves that had so much pizzazz.
Yeah.
He was feeling himself and he should have been.
It was great. And there was one Bobrovsky save. Bobrovsky, thank you. There was one save that looked like it was right out of a modern dance routine.
Oh my God. Yeah. It totally was contemporary routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very fun to watch. I did not think that they were going to win at any point during the game. I was like, no, the Panthers are just going to put another one in towards the end and we'll call it. But it was still a great game and they should walk away feeling great. But then it went to overtime.
It did. Well, so let's talk about the regulation first. So Joel Farabee actually got on the board first. Then Nate Schmidt tied it up for the Panthers, which I dislike because he beat up Mason Marchment in Finland. Now we are enemies.
Okay.
The Panthers' goal was a controversial one, their second goal, rather. Urson immediately signaled that the puck had gone out of play before the goal and the stoppage. And the Flyers ended up challenging it. The refs took several minutes to review it.
Long time.
The Flyers booth was, kind of reviewing it. And Brian Boucher and Jim Jackson were like, it kind of looks like it hit the netting, but I don't know. I will say I did watch the Sportsnet highlights last night, and they had a different view, and it clearly hit the net. And they circled it with their red marker and everything. So from that booth, at least, which I think is a little more neutral than the Flyers booth, they were more definitive that yes, that definitely went out of play.
Yeah. The one shot they showed, you could not see it hit the net, but there's no physical way that the puck fell like that without hitting the net.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway. Torts was not happy.
Well, yeah, because the refs decided it was a good goal, and that was incorrect, based on the things that everybody else saw. But if there's anything we can count on life, it's death, taxes, and the refs being wrong. So yeah, it is what it is. But then Anthony Richard tied it up for the Flyers. But then Bennett reclaimed the lead for the Panthers. So at the end of the second period, the Panthers were leading 3-2. So with 10 minutes left in the third, the hockey gods decided to give us one back for that whole missed stoppage.
Right.
Garnet Hathaway made a shot on goal that went off of a defenseman and then hit Bobrovsky's pads and then kind of went in at an impossible angle.
Right.
It was one of those goals that you could not recreate if you tried. It was just... Circumstance. It was kind of hilarious. Completely preposterous. I loved it.
Yeah.
But that, tied it back up again. So we ended up going into overtime. And then I was like, oh yeah, 3-on-3 overtime. These are never exciting. And then they decided to prove me wrong. And it was the most exciting 3-on-3 overtime I've ever seen.
It was fun.
It was so exciting. Just everybody was playing full out on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't the boring 3-on-3 that I see with the Stars.
Or every other team. Let's be fair.
Because, 3-on-3 is a game of possession, but when you just possess it and wait for the absolute, most perfect time, it's boring as hell.
It really is.
Just go. They should have shot clocks or something.
They should.
For 3-on-3.
Yeah. No, 3-on-3 is usually extremely tedious. There's a reason why everybody hates it. And it was really great. It was exciting. It was fun. Flyers had, I want to say, probably 4 good chances.
They outplayed the Panthers on 3-on-3.
They did.
Absolutely.
They really did. The Panthers had a couple of chances, but the Flyers, it was definitely tilted in their favor.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get it to stick. But even right up until the end, TK had a shot and was trying to get a rebound as the buzzer went. I mean,
it was great.
It was great. It did go to a shootout, and unfortunately the Flyers did end up losing in the shootout. But the Flyers picked up a point, and they should be really proud of themselves.
Yeah, no,
they hung in there, and they did not look like a bad team. They looked like a really solid team.
Yeah. Yeah, Torts was happy. They still have more work to do. But
everybody knows that, and that's fine.
Yeah, they were getting back to the style of hockey that he's looking for from them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an enjoyable game. It was one of those enjoyable, like, anxiety, like, high heart rate type of games. Every couple minutes you're like, oh no, it's going downhill and the ship's sinking, and it ended up not sinking a bunch of times, and as a result, super enjoyable to watch. And that kind of stress from watching was like the good kind. It was like the fun kind.
Yeah, it like paid off even with the loss because A, they got a point, but B, it was such a nice palate cleanser after just watching Dallas just like stand around.
Yeah. And coming into it, I mean, even with 8 minutes left in the third, which is where I like really...
That's where hockey games begin in your
yeah, that's where I really start focusing. I was like, they're probably going to lose. Like, and I wasn't upset they were going to lose. I was like, no, they showed up, they did what they did, they lost, whatever, not a big deal. And then, they got a point out of it. So even better.
It was great. I really enjoyed that game. I think it was a really good one.
Agreed.
So speaking of the Panthers, like you said earlier, we've been watching a lot of sort of behind the scenes videos of different teams, kind of trying to get a sense of different players and their personalities. So the Panthers put out a video where Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Bennett tried to identify which of their teammates could be in a band. They kind of started out on track, and then they just started filling up the band with bearded guys because that felt very rock and roll.
Yeah, they don't know how to put a band together.
They don't.
They're no Simon Cowell.
No, they sure are not. So I thought it might be fun to wrap up the podcast with a little game where we could talk about some of the players that we know best and figure out what role they might play in a band. I was thinking along the lines of like singer, guitar player, bass player, and drummer, but you could totally throw a curveball and have someone play the glockenspiel or something.
I could.
Yeah. And then for bonus points, we could assign them with a genre of music, maybe pair them with potential band members. IDK. We'll just kind of see how it goes.
All right, let's roll with it.
All right. So any place you're interested in starting, or should I just pick a name at random?
Yeah, just pick a name at random and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, I'll start with Tyler Sagan.
All right.
He's a front man.
Absolutely. I had him as lead singer.
Yeah, 100%. That guy's a performer. He just wants to show up and show off. He doesn't need to know how to play instruments or anything. He's just there to smile and have a good time and be pretty.
Well, that goes along with how I imagine him as a lead singer, because I can imagine him with a guitar strapped around his neck, and then he puts it behind his back sometimes, but he never plays it. And he's one of those singers where you're like, why does he have the guitar if he's not going to play it?
That completely checks out to me.
Yeah.
I can completely understand that. And that really actually adds to my vision. So I thank you for putting that in my head.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Who else do we have? What about Sidney Crosby?
He was a real challenge for me.
I would imagine you don't know him as well as
I don't know him as well. And this is going to be, I don't know, this might be a little outside of your world, but I put him on the Hammond B3 organ.
Interesting. I would like to hear more about this. I should clarify that Fred is a musician. I know very little about music. So yes, please tell me, educate me on your world.
I don't know why he's on Hammond B3, but it just seems like a place, like when you're playing a Hammond B3, you're kind of like sitting on it, or like it's kind of almost like a throne or something, and it's a big piece of equipment that like you have to move around. It has its own like speaker cabinet that is off to the side. It's a little old timey, right? They don't make Hammond B3s anymore. They're from the past. There are companies that make versions of them, but yeah, I don't know. I just figured him over there kind of like a band leader role.
I could see that.
Yeah. And I don't know why it's a Hammond B3. It could just be a keyboard, but...
No, I like the Hammond B3 because he does have such a retro vibe, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There's something just very charmingly old-fashioned about him.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Where did you put him? Did you do anything with him?
Well, not really. I was kind of thinking bass player.
Okay.
Because in my mind, bass players are kind of orderly.
Ah.
And he feels like very sort of in a routine.
Yeah.
But that's, again, I don't really know much about
fair enough
musicians and things. I know drummers and lead singers.
All right.
That's what I used to date before I met you. So
yeah.
That's pretty much it. All right. What about Jack Hughes?
Jack Hughes. Where did I put Jack Hughes? I put him on guitar. So like lead guitar, rhythm guitar. I don't really know, but he seems like the kind of person who would be like, guitars are cool, so I should play guitar.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he would be one where like the girls would want him to be a front man, but he would want to be like, no, I'm more than just my good looks. Look at me. I'm also very talented. Look at me play my guitar.
Right. And he would do like guitar solos and like girls would faint and throw their panties on stage or something.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I think it would be a win-win for everybody in that scenario.
I think he'd be a terrible guitar player.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no way. Although he's got great hands as a hockey player, so who knows? Maybe that translates.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
Let's see. What about Austin Matthews?
All right. So Austin Matthews, I also put as a lead vocalist, but he also plays the tambourine.
Okay.
So when you're like, "Ooh, do we pick Tyler or do we pick Austin?" Well, he plays the tambourine too, and I don't know.
No, I think that's fantastic. You're right. I think he would have like that frontman energy, but he has that very eclectic fashion sense. So it would make sense for him to want to play an instrument, but have it be like a really different instrument. So the tambourine, I think.
Yeah,
maybe it's a Doors cover band.
Oh, that would work out great.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, I can just see him like maybe he finds like a Jim Morrison poetry book in a secondhand store and he's like, whoa, this is deep. And then he's like, wait, this guy had a band?
Yeah, I could see that. He could do that kind of like moody artsy thing, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. It's the mustache.
It is.
Yeah. I must ask you a question, and that's to please stop doing Doors covers. All right. Nate McKinnon.
Nate McKinnon. Where did I put old Nate at?
I'll tell you where I put him.
Oh, yeah?
That guy's a drummer.
All right. I put him as a percussionist.
Okay. There you go.
And he's a bongo specialist.
Oh, my God. Yes. Yes. You nailed it.
Like he's got like all the percussion gear around him, but he's like always on the bongos.
100%. Yes. No, I just had drummer because drummers are weird and, you know, he's so weird about the diet and the everything. Yeah. But yes, you're right. The bongos, he has a drum circle. So when he's not in his band, he has a drum circle, but he runs that thing with an iron fist.
Yeah.
It is not like a cool drum circle where you just show up. It's like, you weren't at the drum circle last night and I need an excuse.
Yeah, no, you show up with your djembe and he's like, we already have 3 djembes. Do you have some other kind of drum?
Yes, it's going to really mess with the proportion if we have too much djembe.
He's like, here, take these bongos.
And then he's like, no, you're not doing it right. I'm a bongo specialist.
Bongo specialist.
Bongo specialist, Nathan McKinnon. Yep. That really checks out to me, honestly.
All right.
What about Mason Marchment?
Where did I put? I put him as a drummer.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
because he's unhinged.
He's unhinged, and those crazy, like the eyes are like they suck you in, but they're also a little bit crazy eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and also he's just like so tall and lanky. Like I just feel like it would be great watching him do a drum solo. It would be like Animal from the Muppets.
Absolutely. Yeah, he would have a giant kit.
So huge.
Because he could reach cymbals way far away.
So many, there'd be so many extra cymbals. Yeah. It would be great. He would have drum solos every song, whether they were scheduled to be in there or not.
Yeah, people would not be excited about him being their drummer.
The band members would be like, please stop doing that. And he'd be like, I don't know, man. The drums they wanted a solo. Like, It's not my fault. And then they'd try to put him in the penalty box and he'd say, oh, no. All right, maybe let's do Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes, I've got on bass.
Yeah, definitely bass player energy with him.
Yeah, and he's one of those bass players that just kind of stands there and does his thing and doesn't, do any of like the lead person kind of vibes. He just stands in the corner, the dark corner with his bass. The dark corner
in the shadows.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I put him.
When they do interviews, he never responds to any questions.
Right.
The fans of the band are all like, he's so cool and mysterious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the tallest of gentlemen, right?
I don't think so. I think he's like, on the shorter side.
He's on the shorter side. So just from a musical standpoint, I would like to picture him with a Rickenbacker bass. Rickenbacker. But I think he plays a Fender Mustang bass. He plays a short scale bass.
All right. I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Those are just words to me.
Those are maybe a little detailed, but I can just see him with a short scale bass in the corner. It's a little bit darker and he's just thumping away.
He just kind of always looks like he wishes he was in a dark corner. Right. So it really checks out to me.
Where did you put him?
I actually was also thinking bass player.
Yep.
So I was also maybe thinking like piano, though.
That would work.
He seemed like he could maybe knock out like, I think maybe he's a bass player like 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then like partway during the show, everybody from the band takes a break. And then he goes and just plays like this killer like piano ballad and sings it. And everyone's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then he just goes right back to the shadows with his bass and like pretends it never happened.
Yeah. And I mean, nowadays to be a professional musician, like you've got to play more than one instrument. So like you'll see bass players with keyboards in front of them and, you know, makes sense.
Yeah. There you go. William Nylander.
Where'd you put Nylander?
Oh, he's got frontman energy to me.
All right. Here's what I did.
All right.
He does backing vocals, but he's the backing vocal person where you're like, I think the backing vocals are maybe better than the lead vocals.
You're correct. And he's in the band with Austin Matthews.
Yes.
Yes.
And he also plays recorder when they need him to.
Obviously. On the Doors song.
But yeah, just backing vocals. So everyone's like, man, I think he's better than, why is he on backing vocals?
And also he's cuter.
Right.
Why is the one who's cuter and a better singer on the backup vocals? We don't understand.
Yep.
Yes, that definitely checks out as well. All right. Anybody else we haven't talked about that we feel like we should get into?
Well, I put Konechny on guitar as well.
Yeah, I could see that. He's just like a solid guy. Yeah. He's just kind of middle of the road. He's just going to do what he needs to do to keep the rhythm.
Yeah. And then I have one more, and it was Cale Makar.
Oh, yes.
And I put him on saxophone.
Oh, my God, yes. I didn't know where to put him, but you're right. Saxophone is the only place to put him.
I don't want saxophone in my band, and nobody else does either, but that's what Cale's bringing to the table.
It is. When he's mowing his lawn, he listens to saxophone solos on his Zune. He still has a Zune for some reason.
He does. And I will say, the tone of saxophone is like a thing, right? Like, you know, different jazz guys sound different, and it's the same saxophone, right? I hear him as like that 80s sax sound, like that smooth 80s, like, you know, or even, you know, the grittier like tenor sax but 80s saxophone. Like there's reverb on his sax.
There certainly is. And nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it.
But nobody has the heart to tell him.
Yeah. They let him record, you know, and then they're like, we'll just take it out in post. But there's so much mic bleed that they have to leave it in because he's so loud.
Yeah, that really kind of checks out. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of these bands, I don't think.
No, definitely not.
It's not going to go well for any of us.
That's not going to be a good band. We should go see somebody else.
Nickelback?
Nickelback would probably be an improvement over this band, for
probably.
Sure. Yeah. Did you have any genre ideas? I was just going to assume country because every time anyone asks them like what kind of music, they're like, I don't know, country.
Really, I was mostly. That's kind of why I left Matt Duchene off the list, because that was obviously going to be country. I don't know. Now I'm really into this Doors cover band conceit. I love that. I feel like that B3 organ's gonna.
The B3 organ's very, very important.
Into there.
Yeah, no, and you know he could have a Rhodes behind him to really handle like, you know, Riders on the Storm or something.
Yeah. Well, now I'm like maybe we need dueling cover bands. So we've got like the Doors cover band with like Austin Matthews and William Nylander on backing vocals, and Sidney Crosby. And then maybe we have some kind of like 80s cover band with like Tyler Sagan as the front man, Cale Makar on the saxophone, and then Nathan McKinnon on bongos. We're going to have to workshop that more. But I think that we are at the end of regulation for this week's episode of Ice is Slippery. You can find us on both Tumblr and Instagram at Ice is Slippery Pod, where I post content whenever I remember. We're also begrudgingly on Twitter now at Slippery Ice Pod. If, like Fred, you are afraid of social media, you can also email us at iceisslipperypod@gmail.com, where we would love to hear your spicy takes or get suggestions for future games. Until next week, stay out of the penalty box.